We have created one class and we are making this class as thread class by extending thread class, right? So if any class is extending thread class means it will become thread. So I will rename it as demo thread. So I can create demo thread object, right? Correct. Then what I have to do to start the thread, to initiate the thread, start method. So consider one situation. So we already did this program, it was executing. Correct. Consider one situation is there, I have another class, super demo, and this actually my demo thread class is extends inheriting all the properties of super demo. Then I have to make this demo thread class as thread or thread class. For that I cannot use extends, right? It will become multiple inheritance. Multiple inheritance with the two classes is not possible. So what is the only one way? Implements runnable. Done. And we are using run. Remaining all are same, just I updated this one, but we will face a problem here. Okay, let's go to main. We have created the object, right? Object of demo thread. Runnable is the interface. What is the problem here? Why we are not able to call this start method? Runnable. How many items are there? Can you see start method here? Then for thread, what is the method available? Only run is there, right? So we don't have to call run directly. We are making a thread object and we are calling start, but start is not there in runnable. It is there in thread, it is not there in runnable. But I cannot use here thread also, right? I have to start the thread, but which is not possible while using runnable. The only one way is we can create thread object. I will call this as thread t1 equal to new. How can I create thread object? See, runnable target constructor is there. Can you see the screen? One second. Can you see the screen now? In that we can see run, like how many thread constructors are there? How many thread constructors are there? Getting my point? In that one the constructor which is selected, what is that constructor? What is the parameter? What is that runnable? Runnable is an interface. So we can pass the interface item there. So my demo object I can pass in this thread constructor. Getting my point? Demo object is there, right? This is created with the help of runnable. Getting my point? So we can pass this D into thread constructor. D. Can we apply start right now? No, sorry, not D. T1 dot, correct. T1 dot, can I apply start right now? So when you are using runnable, this is the format of creating the thread. Because it is runnable, right? Runnable interface. Runnable is an interface. Interface contains only abstract method. Correct. Start method is there in our thread class. In that, what we are doing? From that start method, like start method is already implemented in that thread class, right? So from that start method, it will automatically call run. But can we implement that same thing in runnable interface? Interface contains only abstract method. So I cannot give an implementation part there. That is why start method is not there. So we are using that start method with the help of this technique. I can use the start method. Thread will start execution. Working? Is it working now? So note this point. So when a thread method, like when a class is in already inheritance, we have to use runnable interface. At that time, we cannot directly use start method. Note down these points. Done? Any doubt? So this is the only one difference. If you are using thread class, then you can directly use this start, that object dot start. If you are using runnable, then you have to create the thread object using this runnable. Then we can use start. Okay. One extra line will be added. That's it. Remaining all will be same. So I will write a code. You have to tell me what will happen here. So what will happen right now? Any idea? Check the code. Demo thread is our class. I am implementing a runnable interface. Then one variable is there, constructor run. What is happening in run? What is happening in run? How many times this loop will work? 3 times. Each time it will wait for 1 second, then it will print executing. Correct. Okay, so can I create multiple threads here? How can I create multiple threads? If I have multiple threads, then how can I create that? Okay, array list. What is the class name? Here the class name is demo thread, correct? Demo thread is the class name, right? Okay. Then this same thing we did yesterday also, right? That is why I am not explaining. So I am creating that n threads. 5 threads I am creating. Correct. So 1 to 5, D1 to D5 items threads I am creating. Then how can I run this thread? What is the array list name? Demo dot get I. In this way I can start the thread, right? Instead of writing that in 2 different lines, I am writing in same line. This will create the object and I am starting. Any doubt? I will split that again. This is what I did in the same line. Then t dot start. So what is your expectation? What is the error? Index out of bound. Why index out of bound? We are not adding the data, right? We forgot to add the data, right? So how can I add? Demo dot add d. Done, right? Anything else left? Anything is remaining here? So what is happening? What is happening? Five threads are there. It will count 1, 2, 3. Every time it will wait for 1 second. In that 1 second, another thread can execute. Correct. So it is starting from 3. 3 is executing, and so it will wait for 1 second. By the time D1 is getting executed, it will also again wait for 1 second. D4, D2, D5. Again D4 is getting executed. D1, D3. It is based on how the processor is getting free. Correct. Every time this will not be the same. See, right now D1 is started, D4, D5, and it is going on. Is it working? Yes or no? Any doubt in this concept? Same thing we did yesterday also. So only this part is only this part you don't know what will happen, right? Because try catch we have not explained. We will discuss try catch also. So here thread is sleeping. Using this, thread can sleep, like we are giving thread sleep for 1 second. So listen here, I'm going to give one message here. This is the last line of main method, right? Listen, this is the last line of main method, right? This one is the last line of main method. So here I am saying main thread ends. Main thread ends. I'm just giving one message. I have to know when my other threads will complete its execution. So I'm just run the program. I will just run the program. What is happening? Before all the thread is getting started itself, main thread is ending, right? Okay, I will again try another again it is coming same. Okay, I will make a change. Right now what is happening means, before printing it will wait for 1 second, right? Correct? Are you listening? Before printing this message, it is waiting, every thread will wait for 1 second, right? So what we are going to do is, we will change the order. And then we will check. What is happening right now? What is happening right now? Some threads are started working, and by the time main method is getting over. When main method will get it like perform all the programs, it is performing one loop, right? Correct. This loop is for creating all the thread. This loop is for starting all the thread or initiating all the thread. So before completing this for loop itself, here D3 started executing. Correct. D3 thread is started executing. D5 is also started. D4 is also started. D1 is started. D2 started. Then like 1 to 5 items are there, right? So all threads are started performing and main method is getting completed. Main method completes its execution. Getting what I am saying? Again, threads are still remaining, like thread have to complete its full execution, right? So it is just continuing. Before that itself, main method thread is ends. So but I have to synchronize this. I don't have to make main method ends before all the threads are completed. Here what is happening? Even if after completing that main thread, still threads are working, right? Still my threads are working. But what I want is, after performing all the thread, my main method should end. Till that point, my main method should wait for all other threads to complete its work. Understanding what I am saying? Here one problem is there. Before all the threads are completing its execution, main method is just complete, like main method completed its execution and it is terminated, and still threads are working. Consider one company, like when we are completing our session, security will come and close all the doors, right? Right, security will come and close all the doors. So if employees are working inside, can security close the door and go out? No, right? What security will do? If somebody is working inside this floor, he will wait for everyone to complete their work, and after completion he will stop the, like here it is like stopping the operation or ending the process. Like in our example, it is what? It will lock all the doors, turn off all the things, and it will correct. So same thing I have to perform here. My main method should wait for all other thread to complete its execution. After every threads are completed its execution, then I will perform main method, this one. Then only that main method will complete. It will exceed. So how can I make that possible? Getting my point? Before completing that particular thread, I have to complete all the subthreads. Then only my main thread will exit or terminate. Till that point, my main thread should wait. How can I make that? Any idea? We have one method. Louder. No, it is not wait. What is the thread object names here? What are the names we given for thread? Names. D1. Okay. So D1. Okay, not D1 actually. I will go through loop only because our objects are there in our array, right? So I am going through the loop. How can I access the element? Demo dot. So these are the object of each demo class, right? Each objects of demo class. So on that I can apply so it is runnable interface, right? It is runnable interface, right? So I cannot use the methods, usual methods which we have used in thread. So I am again creating just one thread object like this here also to use that join method, because join method is where? Inside our thread. So I am using that. Then here one problem is there, this exception problem is there. I am adding try catch. We will discuss about exception after this. So I added that. Let's run the program now. After all this, we have this main thread ends message. Let's see, is there what is happening? It is coming first. Okay, let me do one thing. on the same object I have to do the operation, I think. I cannot create the different object. So what I will do is I will just show you few example, not using array list. I'm taking D1 here, D1, so I just converted that from for loop to normal, because on the same thread class itself I have to perform that join. See what is happening now. In everywhere we are seeing D1 only, right? Okay, I have given only D1 here. D2, D3, D4, D5. So what is happening now? What is this? D2, D3, D4, D5. So is it working now? Where is our main thread execution? It is at last, right? So all the threads are waiting, like all for completing all the threads, main method is waiting. Getting my point? So that is the use of join method. Join method is helping us to connect this, connect this with our main thread. So our main method is also working in a thread. Along with that, different threads are working. Getting my point? So main method will wait. If I have to make main method to wait till all the threads are completing its execution, I just have to do that thread dot join. Let's do the join operation on two threads. What we will get right now. It is still perfect. Every time it is working same. Because like almost all the thread will work at the same time, right? Because 1 second it is waiting for every thread. After all the counts it is waiting for 1 second. So that is why almost everything, see 1 and 2 is coming here also. We applied join for 1 and 2. Correct. It is performing at second last also. So almost every thread will perform at the same time. That is why main method is coming. Otherwise main method will, like, for only for these two, main method will wait. After that main method, this method will print, like it will wait only for the threads which is applied join. Join method is using for what? Connecting that particular thread with our main. Understanding? So it will wait for that all task to complete. Then after that it will perform the remaining. So one more thing we have discussed about multi-threading. What is that? Join. What is the use of join? To connect the thread with our main. So main method will wait for completion of all the connected thread. Getting my point? So after every thread is completing its execution, main method will exit. Main method will terminate. This one, right? This we will discuss. That is in exception. After this we are starting exception. At that time I will give you that idea. What is try, what is catch, and what we are doing with this, that we will discuss. Now you have to focus on this line. Only this line I added, right? Remaining all we already discussed. Correct? Running different threads we already discussed. Only new thing is join. So what is the use of join? It will connect the thread, connect those thread with the main thread. Almost for everything. See, 1 and 2 is coming at last. So main thread is actually focusing on these two threads. When these two threads are completing its execution, main method will exit. Which one? Which one? In previous thread? This order can be changing every time, right? This order cannot be, it will not follow a pattern. It is up to like how the processor is allocating. Based on that, this order will change for threads. All the threads are working simultaneously, right? Like parallelly, right? It is performing together. So which thread gets the processor? Like a lot of process is processing in the processor, right? So when it is getting processor, it will process. So this order will change always. Which thread getting the processor, it will process likewise. Even that parallel processing also, there is a limit. Like we cannot, n 1000 threads cannot perform parallelly. There is a limit of perform in that parallel processing also. There is a limit. So let's say only 10 threads can perform at a time parallelly. So remaining threads will wait. Getting my point? In parallel also it is not unlimited. That is why this difference we can see every time. So I have changed that runnable implementation to thread. So when we are using runnable, we cannot get this start method. In runnable interface, we don't have start method. So to start the thread, we were creating another object for thread by passing this demo thread in the constructor. So we are creating the thread and t1.start we were using. So right now I have changed this inheritance to extends thread. So I have start method. So directly using demo thread, I can create the object and call start method. Start method is required for call the thread to What we are using with the start method? We are making it alive or initiating. So initiating is the process what is happening there. So right now all the threads are started, created and started. Then I am performing join. Okay, let's say if I am changing the timer, let's say what, like we will see what is happening here if timer is not there. I just remove the timer and I am giving only, okay, let's say D1 I am giving. What is happening right now? After D1 completes, main thread will exit. After D1 completes, main method will exit. Again we will try another. See, can you see any D1 after this main thread? So main method is waiting for what? D1. Getting my point? Join is using on D1. So after D1 executes, after D1 execution is completing, main method will exit. In between that also we can find out in some another thread will get the processor, because parallelly it is processing, right? That is the thing. So join, are you understanding what is the use? Here you can see one is coming at last. See, D1 completes its execution, main method is end, then again D3, D5, D2, everything is executing. So it is based, like if I am using join, main method will wait for that particular thread to complete its execution. If I have to wait for all the threads, I have to list down all the threads here. Understanding what I am saying? Note down. One more thing we have to discuss here. So after making notes, just listen here. Check what I am doing. Listen here. What is this property? What is this property? What is this property? Class association. Are you sure? Guys, listen. Check what is happening here. Check what is happening here. What is happening in main method? What is the display? Normal class, right? Display is a normal class. How many things are there in display? Show message. Inside that, Java is, thread is in sleep, then it will print object oriented. So I have created the object here and I am passing that object into the constructor. Correct? Created the thread. So we will go to the constructor. What is happening in this constructor? What is this? What is happening here? What is this display? The object we created from main method. That object we are initializing to display. So can I use this display right now in run? So display the dot show message. What is show message? Getting my point? So this we are trying to call. What will happen? What is your expectation? So along with this, I will also give the name to the thread. How can I give the name? D1. In this way I am going to give the name also to the thread. So from main method I reached here, right? Understanding that? So I am adding name also along with that. Thread name also I am adding along with this message. So from where I started, I given the name here into this constructor, or I can pass here also, but I have given here. So this name will go to demo thread. From here we are passing to, because if I am giving directly in display method, every name will be same. I cannot give different names. I am giving names to threads. That is why I updated here. The difference is there, right? So here I am giving name. So each name will be different for different threads. And that when D1 is performing, it will give the name as D1. When D2 is performing, it will give the name as D2. And in that method, I will take the name, I will print Java. This statement along with the name. Any doubt? Here also I will give, after this I will give plus name. So starting and ending I can see the thread name. Okay, let's run the program. What is happening right now? Main method is ending. Like, we are not discussing about join right now. We are discussing about another one that I will show you. The problem here is, consider one is printing and it is waiting for 2 seconds. Correct, 2 seconds. So again after 2 seconds, before that all other threads are performing. So is that in order every time? No, right? See, after printing this, every thread is waiting for 2 seconds. That is why it is taking lot of time. Let's change that to 1 second. Order is every time different, right? I will just change this to, like, I'm not giving this time delay. Let's print right now. What will I get? What will I get? First it will print like anything can print. Only the one, like D2 got this message here, then we can expect D2 object after this. From this point onwards, I can expect D2 object oriented D2. So D5 got here Java is. From this point I can expect object oriented D5. It will not come before, right? First it will print the Java is, then it will print object oriented. So consider one situation, like we already discussed about one situation where employees are working, security have to lock the door. So at that time we used join. So security is waiting for till all the employees are completing their work. Then security will lock the door, lock the building. Correct. Another situation you can consider. We can take 2 ATM cards, right? Listen here. We can take 2 ATM cards for one bank, right? One same bank. Can we take bank account? So for same bank account, can we take 2 ATM cards? We can request for 2 ATM cards. Like one copy we can take of ATM card. If we are requesting, we will get 2 copies. So I am going with the 1 copy and another person is going with another copy, and we are trying to take the money, withdraw the money from bank. Consider bank account contains bank account contains 10,000 is their balance. Okay, so I went to ATM machine and I am checking the balance. I will get what? 10,000. From there I am taking let's say 6,000. Okay, at the same time consider my another ATM card is also there. That person is also going to take one amount from the bank. So what will be the balance amount that will display to that person? No, it is at the same time, right? Two threads are working parallelly. So a person is going with the same ATM card to withdraw the money. For him also what it will show? 10,000, right? So he is taking 2,000 from the account. So both threads are working together same time. It will not work. Like there is a like to avoid this problem, there is a thing which we can implement. So what I will get after I am withdrawing the amount? Amount will be 4,000, right? At the same time he is also withdrawing 2,000. What will be the data available in balance? 8,000. Getting my point? Conflict, right? Both are, we are taking that amount, but that amount is not actually reflecting. So we cannot do a bank system in this way. Correct? So what we can do for as an solution for this problem? If like I have to give the access to different users as multi-threading. All users will be performing as different thread. But if same user is logging with the same account, getting my point? I will give each thread for different accounts. But here same ATM card is there. Two people were accessing at the same time. At that time I don't have to perform that as thread. Parallelly I don't have to perform. I will make the second person to wait till one thread is performing. So what we can do is, like let's say person 1 and person 2 ATM. So both are going to perform at the same time. Let's say first I insert the card. Same card is going to insert it in. Same card means one duplicate is going to insert by person 2. At that time what will happen means, if person 1 or person 2 who is going to insert that card first, that bank will account will be logged for that particular thread. It will be logged for this selected thread. Person 1 and ATM is in log. So same card cannot access the same account, but different card can access different account. Getting my different person can access the ATM with a different card. He will get the account like he is not using the same account, right? If two people are coming to access the same account, first who is getting that ATM, inserting that ATM card, he will get the account details, and that will be logged. Until this person is completing his transaction, this will be in log. No other person can access that particular account I am saying. Getting my point? So no one can access. Even if person 2 is trying to access it, it will not happen, because it is already in log. There is a concept called mutual exclusion. Do you know what is that? Mutex. Just note down the name. You can search it later. Mutual exclusion. Locking concept. So here one lock is performing on the first person. So no other person can access the same account. we even from different, don't tell ATM, instead of that we can say account, because it is not related to ATM, it is related to account. So that particular person is trying to access using ATM, he is accessing this account. So no other person can access the account at the same time. So it will be in a log. Then after performing all the operations, what is the update? What will be the update? This will be reflected in account. It will be reflected in the account. After that, this log will be removed. Then next person can access. What is the data next person is getting right now? 4,000, right? From that he can withdraw 2,000. So right now our program is working perfectly, right? Java is the one language which is using for all the bank sectors, because none of the other programming language is giving that security, right? So here, how we can achieve this thing in our threading? So if multiple threads are there, then one thread should complete its execution to another, then only another thread can execute the same portion of our code. So this program, we have created here one method, right? We have created one method, and this method is using by one thread. Until that thread completes its execution, none of other thread will get this method. This method I am saying, show message. Show message method is performing by one thread. None of other thread will execute that show message until that first thread is completing its execution. So we are giving that access to this method thread, like for the thread one by one access we are giving for the thread. So how we can make that possible? We have one method. So what we were discussing, if one thread is started executing that method that method will be logged to that particular thread. After completing the execution of that particular thread, then we will leave that method to another thread. Getting my point? For that, what we have used? Synchronized. On what we are synchronizing? Object of that. Where is that method? In display class, right? So display class object I am passing here. On this method I am going to implement synchronized. Synchronized means what? If one thread is started executing this show message method, every other thread will wait for that completion. Then the next thread will start execution. Getting my point? One by one execution on a particular portion. So for that we can use synchronized block. And we are passing display object. Why we are passing display object? On that we have the method. Correct. So on that we have the method where we are applying the synchronization. So what is happening right now in output? First, which thread started performing that method? 1. It is completing. Second, understanding the use. It is not overlapping, right? Before that it was overlapping. Correct. Getting my point? So for a particular block of code, we have to do this synchronization. So we can give synchronized block. Display show message name. So this method will be log for one particular thread. After performing that thread, we will go for the next thread. Next thread also will use this method. So we are synchronizing that. Understanding my point? So if thread D1 is starting executing that method, then D1 will complete it. Then only any other thread will get that method. So what are the things we discussed today in multi-threading? What is the use of joining? Join. What is the use of join? We are connecting that main thread with our threads. So using join, I can connect the thread with our main thread. So until all the threads are completing its execution, main method will wait. Till all the threads are completing its execution, main method will wait, and after that it will exit. And what we have discussed after that? For a particular block, I have to give one lock, synchronization. So if one thread is executing that particular block, no other threads can execute it. Every other thread will wait for the completion of that first thread's execution. Then next thread will get that block selected portion. There is a lot of concept like locking or mutual exclusion, or we can say, what is that? Deadlock situation, do you know? Where you have learned deadlock situation? Have you learned mutex in computer science? I'm asking computer science students. Have you learned mutex? See, then another name is also there. One another name is there, I forgot the name. So this is an example of that mutual exclusion or locking. So what is exception handling? We are going to discuss about exception handling today. So, okay, first we will start from exception. What is exception? Which will? Exception? Okay. Okay. But we have runtime exception and compile time exception. Then two exceptions are there. So before executing also, compile time means what? Before executing, right? Before and after is there. So it will interrupt the flow of execution, or it will terminate something which is terminating the code. Interrupt the flow of execution. Then exception is something which is interrupting the flow of execution. So like our code might get terminated with some cases, some it is not error. There is a difference between error and exception. Error means we have to change it, right? It might be some mistakes in syntax or logical, right? Logical errors are there. Logical error means what? The expected output is not coming because of some logical mistakes I made. So let's say we will discuss on errors. So how many type of errors are there? Syntax error and syntax error, or we can call it as compile, compile time error, or another error is what? Logical error. What is logical error? Runtime. So, can you give me some example of syntax error? Syntax, semantics, anything. Syntax error. What is syntax error? Okay, if we missed the semicolon, that is syntax error. So, Java is preferring some syntaxes or rules or grammar. Like in English we can say grammar is there, we have to follow grammar. That is a rule in English, right? So in that way Java also preferring some syntax. You have to keep the things in this way. Some rules are there, we have to follow that rule. If we are not following, that will be an error. Because how Java will understand this is a Java language? If I am following one language, I have to follow the rules also, right? So I am writing if what is this? Why it is error? What is that? Okay, so I am giving that also. Right now any error? What is the error? Louder. Semicolon? Louder. Is there any error? Semicolon after the? What happened? What will I get? What will I get here as the result of condition? True. If will perform, right? So if block will execute, right? Yes or no? You can consider this is system.out.println. Fine. So same thing, if I am giving like this, is there any error? If I am not giving this closing bracket, why it is an error? How Java will understand where this bracket, open bracket is closing? Correct. It is related to Java language. That rule is related to Java language. So can I give like this? Why? I am giving same thing only, right? So there is a rule, condition we have to keep inside. Getting my point? So some rules are there for each particular language. It is different from one language to another. If I am writing Python code, I don't have to write in this way. If I am writing in this way, it will show error there, because it will not recognize that as a Python code. Correct. If it is a Java code, I have to follow some rules. If I am not following, that is called syntax error. Correct. So syntax error is done. Then what is logical error? What is logical error? What is the result? What is the result of this given expression? 0 to 29. Why? Why 29? 30 will also print, right? Is there any error? Is there any error in syntax? Do I have missed any rules of Java? Everything is in proper, everything I kept in proper place, right? Then what will I get in output? What is my expectation? Any idea? Expectation is 0 to 29. What will I get? No output. Why no output? I is 0. I is starting from 0. 0 greater than 30. What will I get? 0 greater than 30. What will I get? True or false? If it is false, I will not enter into the loop, right? No, it is not infinite loop. What is the value of I? What is the condition, true or false? If it is false, it will not enter into the loop. It will come out. So I will not get anything in output. So, but I am expecting 0 to 29. Is this a syntax error or logical error? Logical errors we can only see at the time of runtime. Syntax error we can see at the time of compiling. That is the difference between compile time error and runtime error. Getting my point? Any doubts? So syntax, okay, I am just changing this to less than and minus minus. What will I get? What will I get right now? Will I get 0 to 29? Why? Louder. It will start from 0, correct? Infinite loop, right? We don't know where to end this loop because this condition is not going to match anyway, anytime. We will not reach this condition. So it will be in infinite loop. It will go down. Negative values. So this is also what? Compile time error or runtime error? Runtime, right? Any doubt? When I can see the error? Can I see that while compiling? See, all our like our IDE is we don't have to compile the Java code in our IDE actually. While writing itself, it is compiling and it is showing the errors. Getting my point? All syntax error will be shown inside the Eclipse itself. We don't have to run the code or we don't have to compile the code. Correct? But while writing itself, it will check for the compilation. It will check for the syntax. So we don't have to compile it for understanding the syntax error. If we are using the, so you have used only IDE, that is why you don't know. Like I think computer science participants have used this Notepad Java programming, right? Like in CMD, how to write the code, how to run the code. This thing you have experienced, right? At that time, we have to compile the Java code first, then only we can run. Yes or no? In CMD, command prompt, we have to create a Java file, then we have to compile it, then we have to run it. But in IDE, using IDE right now, we are using IDEs, Eclipse. In that we don't have to, we are only choosing run button, right? What is happening after giving that run option? It is just executing. Compiling and execution is performing together. We don't have to separately compile it. And also IDE is showing the syntax errors. Correct? Getting my point? So, okay, we discussed about error and error. How many type of errors are there? Okay, what are the errors type of errors? Syntax, runtime. Okay, syntax and runtime, syntax and compile time is same. Logical and runtime is same. So two different. Any doubts right now? Okay, then what about exception? So exception is not error. Error and exception is different. This is actually mistakes that can be in syntax or logic. So exception is not a mistake actually. Exception is something which is interrupts the flow of execution, interrupts the flow. So it will stop our program then and there. Where we have find the exception code, there the program will stop the execution. We have to handle it, then only it will work the further parts. So can you give some example exceptions? When you have found this exception, not error, exception. Index out of bound. Then, so array index out of bound, right? Or string index out of bound. Okay, then division by 0. Arithmetic exception. That is, division by 0 is one example of arithmetic exception. String index out of bound, arithmetic exception, then class not found exception, null pointer exception, then input output mismatch, okay, input what is that? IO exception. Or file not found. We will discuss about file not found exception in file handling. Then here yesterday we used one exception. Yesterday we discussed about one exception. In threading, interrupted exception. What is interrupted exception? If thread is getting interrupted, I cannot perform that, right? So I have to handle that situation. We don't know when that thread will get exception or interrupt. When the thread will get interrupt, we don't know that. So if thread is getting interrupted, that is not a problem of programmer, right? It is the problem of we don't have a resource in our CPU or processor. So it is not an error, it is an exception. Are you understanding the difference? Error and exception difference. So exception means it is interrupt. Error and exception, what is the difference between error and exception? Error is the mistakes that we are making in the program. Correct. Exception is not a mistake. It is a situation there the code might get terminated. Correct. We are like something is interrupting our control, like working flow of control or flow of program. If we are getting interrupted by some external things, that is called exception. So we have to handle that exception to not to get terminated. Our program is getting terminated. We cannot allow that to be happen, right? So we have to find out a solution where I can handle it. If I can handle that exception, whatever exception is coming, if I can handle it, then there is no problem, right? Getting what I am saying? Yes or no? If I can handle that exception, then my code will not terminate. My program will not terminate. I can handle that exception and remaining again it will work as smooth. Getting my point? That is exception handling. So we have to handle the exception. Any doubt? Is it clear? Yes or no? Okay, so in our Java, how we can handle one exception? By using try catch block. Try block is there, catch block is there. So for handling exception, we have to use try catch block. I cannot just give try block or catch block separately. this both items will work always together. Getting my point? Because try block is using for what? What is the use of try block? This also I think, no, I have not explained. What is try block? What is the use of try block? It is not handling the exception. Yes, the statement which might cause the exception, we will keep inside try. So it is just giving a trial. It is just performing that code. If we are finding that exception is happening, which block will execute it? Which block will handle it? Catch block. So we are giving a trial run in that on that exception code. We are making a trial run using try block. Then if exception is causing or exception is happening, how we will handle it? Catch block will catch that exception and it will handle it. Understanding what I am saying? So let's say, how can I make one exception? Okay, division by 0. How can I make division by 0? Any number divided by 0 is division by 0 error. Like not error, exception. So this code will make exception. For sure, right? For sure this code will make exception because division by 0 is there. So what type of exception I am going to handle here? So the code which might get exception, I am giving in the try. And I have to specify what type of exception I am going to handle. What is that exception type? Arithmetic exception. So, okay, I have given arithmetic exception, then one variable. This is a class. Find out how many exception classes are there in Java. How we can find out? Just go to, okay, create a new package in your Eclipse for exception handling. Create a new package. Don't create class with exception name because exception is already there in our Java. So you can create anything which, like, some changes you can make on that name. I am creating demo exception. Don't create classes with the predefined names. Create main method inside. Just type exception, control space. How many exception classes you can find out? Type exception, control space, you can find out how many exception classes are there in Java. Yes, we have a lot of exception classes, right? So these many exceptions can be handled in Java. This each exception, you can see SQL exception. You will use SQL exception while you are connecting your database with your system. In next module, you will connect your database with your system, right? Like with your program, project. At that time, you might get this SQL exception. Lot of exception classes you can find there. Correct? So we will study how to use exception. So it will be easy for you to apply this same thing in any program. Correct? Applying this in program will be same. So we will focus on how to use exceptions in Java. So you can use any exception at any, like when you are getting different exceptions, you can use any exception, because the way how to use the exception we will discuss. So lot of exception classes are there, right? And also for each exception classes, we let's take, we have above 100, we don't know how many exception classes are there, we will consider above 100 exception classes are there, predefined exception classes. So that many exceptions can be handled in Java, correct? So for all these classes, for all the exception classes, we have a top, we have a parent class. All exception classes are inherited by one parent class. Like from one parent class, all the properties are inheriting by all the exception classes. Arithmetic exception class, you can see index of array index out of bound exception class, correct? Array index out of bound exception class. So all these exception classes, all the predefined exception classes inheriting same one class. What is that class name? It is called, that is why you should not create a class with exception, because exception is also a class which is predefined. If you are creating your own class name as exception, there a conflict, we are making actually a conflict, right? Java will get confused which exception it have to use. Then what is the code, what is the example we took? 10 by 0, right? Is there any error in this program? Is that an error? No, right? Okay, let's run this program. What is your expectation? What is your expectation? Which exception class is calling? It is not calling, it is pointing. Exception is happening, the exception is arithmetic exception class is performing, and also division by 0 is the error name. Getting my point? Not error, exception name. So this exception is occurring in which line? Line number 7. Is that correct? Line number 7, right? How can I handle this? What type of exception is this? When we are finding this exception? While runtime or compile time? When we are identifying this exception? So there is runtime exception and compile time exception. Note down. You have to find out how many runtime exceptions are there, how many compile time exceptions are there. You have to make a list. I'm not saying you have to list all the exceptions. At least 3 or 4 exceptions you have to make as a list in both compile time and runtime. So this one is compile time or runtime? Runtime, right? While compiling, it is not like compile time error in an IDE. We can see that compile time error here itself. We are not seeing that error, right? Getting what I'm saying? It is only visible at the time of execution. Execution means what? Running. Runs a program. That is called execution. So runtime error is like this error is runtime. Like this exception is runtime exception. So you can check the name, uncheck exception and checked exception. Runtime exception and compile time exception have different name, terminology. Checked and unchecked. You can search about that terminology also. Otherwise you might get confused what is checked exception and what is unchecked exception. So that terminology also you can note down. So you have to make a list of at least 4 exception classes in both runtime and compile time, or checked and unchecked. Fine. So how can I handle this? I don't have to let my code terminated. I have to handle this situation. Okay. Can I write something here? Hello Java. Here I'm giving my name. What is your expected output? Working? Why I am not getting that ninth line? This is called code is getting terminated. So from at this point the code is getting terminated. So I don't have to let my code terminate there. If an exception is coming, I have to handle it. Then I have to continue that flow. From there I have to continue that flow. What can I do? What was the solution we discussed? What we can use? Tell me how we can use it. How we can use that try catch block here in this program? Where I will give try? Okay, here try, then here, then where? Can I give here? Then here. Okay, catch. What I have to give here? What is the exception type? Okay. This is a class name, right? So we can make a reference variable. Then I will print that E. Let us see what we will get from that E, because we are referring to that object, right? So do we have toString method there? If we have, then it will work. Yes, correct. If a class contains toString method, it will not give us the memory location. It will give us the data which is inside the toString method. So we can access this. We just have to call that variable name. Any doubt? Right now what will happen? You don't know what you will get from this line. Correct. Remaining you know what are the things. So what is your expectation right now? How many lines will print? Is it 4, 3, 2? What is the count? How many lines will print? 3. What are the 3 lines? Will this line print? Because we are executing, like we are handling the exception, right? Any doubt? No, I'm just asking you, will this line perform? No? Okay, let us see what is happening. Right now, can you see any red color? Can you see any exception termination? Is my code terminating there? No, right? What is happening? First line is printing as usual. Then, instead of that exception code, what we are getting here? What is this? That exception class and its name. Exception name. This is the class. Where is this class? This class contains in which library? Lang library. So from there we are pointing that class, and the exception name is division by 0. And after giving this item, it is just continuing the execution. Whatever, how many statements are there in my program, all the statement will execute. My code is not getting terminated. Are you understanding what is try catch block? Everyone? Is it clear? So here I can do any operation. To handle that exception, I can do any operation. If I am not giving anything also, it will work. What will I get right now? What I am getting right now? If exception is occurring, then I am not doing anything. I have not given any statement to perform. Correct? So that line is getting skipped. That line is getting skipped. Then remaining are working. Remaining things are working. Any doubt? So here we can do any operation here. Okay, we will take one example, like real example. Real example means one example I will show you. So I am going to write a code where I will take 2 inputs from user and I am going to divide that numbers. Same division by 0 will come, but I am using that both numerator and denominator from the side of user. User is giving the data. How can I make the code? scanner. Then I have to, okay, I have to repeatedly perform this, repeatedly I have to perform the same code. So what can I do? Repeatedly I have to perform the same code. I don't know like how many time my code will perform. I will stop the execution once I am getting the exception. Understanding what I am saying? I will repeatedly taking the data from user. So user will give different data. With that I will apply the division, and when I am getting exception I will stop the looping. I will stop the looping. So how can I implement that logic here? So I don't want this thing. I don't want this one also. I don't want this one actually, because like inside this I will not use this 10 divided by 0. I will take 10 like numerator and denominator from user. How can I take that? Then so I am taking two data, right? Okay, then what I have to do, I will take another variable int number 3 or result. Result equal to number 1 divided by number 2. Then I have to perform this code multiple times. When I am getting exception, I will stop this looping. So what can I do? How can I write that looping case? Semicolon. Okay, then when I will stop the loop? No, that will be error, right? I don't want to stop that as an error. When an exception is occurring, I will print that like exception is done. So you are like okay, that is not a, I will make that change. I will change that idea. So even though exception is occurring, user will give the choice when to stop. Based on the user choice, we will loop it. Otherwise, you will think after handling the exception also we are getting terminated. That is not the case, right? So you don't have to confuse in that way. So I am changing that idea. My idea is every time we will ask user, would you like to continue? If he is saying continuing, we will continue it. It is not depends on exception. Otherwise you might get confused. What can I do here? So I am asking for this. How can I take the value? Here, S or Y or N I am asking. Like, so what can I take here? Character I can take, right? Character choice equal to scanner dot next dot. I can do one thing here. My data like if user is giving small y, then will it work? So I can make, okay, 2 lowercase then, but this is what happened? Why no? Okay, ignore case also we can use in comparing. Fine, okay, we will use that. Character at the position 0. Correct. In that way also we can do. Ignore case also we can use for comparing, or we can make it as 2 lowercase. Then we can convert that into character. 2 lowercase means it will become string. On that we can apply dot caret. It will become lowercase character. Getting my point? 2 lowercase then dot caret. This is also same, right? In this way also we can do that program, or we can, while comparing, we can give equals ignore case. So case will not consider there. Anything whatever you can select. Then this thing I have to continue till user is saying no. How can I continue this thing till user is saying no? So first time it will execute the code, then it will ask, would you like to continue? If user is saying yes, again it will come back, it will again do the operation. How can I perform this? Okay, so which part I will give in do? What are the things I have to keep in do loop? Do block. From here to, then we will give closing here. Correct? Then while, what is the condition? Choice equal to, when I have to continue, when it is y, right? What is the error? No, what is the error? Choice we have to declare outside. Because choice is created inside the do block, right? So it is not accessible outside, because block of code is terminated, like it is closing here. We can give empty character. What is the empty, like not empty character, what is the default character code? What is default character code? Correct? Default character. Okay. So it will check with the y, right? I given small letter, small y. Equals ignore case is actually string method. So I have to convert this into, then I can compare that using equals ignore case. But in character I cannot use that equals ignore case. So first I have to convert this, then I can compare with equal ignore case. So here because I am using lower case, I am using lower. Getting my point? So that also you have to focus. So will it work right now? Okay, what I have to do in this for handling? If it is exception, then what we can say? I am just giving one message. Fine. Okay, so let's run the program now. We created one exception handling code. Any doubt in this code? Check. Character, default character value is given there. Do block is there. Inside do block we have created like every time it will ask for data from user, it will take the data, and with that we are executing division. With that we are executing division. If exception is performing, then this block, this print statement will come. Otherwise, where I can get the result, okay, that I have to keep, right? So I will give here result result is result. Fine. So this also I have added in the try block. Let's see, when exception is occurring, at that time will this code perform or not? At the time of exception, will this code perform or not? We will check that. What is your expectation? It is asking for some data. I am giving 20. I am giving 10. So I can give number 1, number 2 also. Not to just like print like this. Okay. What I am getting? Result is 2. Correct? Yes, I have to continue. Again, I am giving some code. I am giving 0. Division by 0 is not possible. Do you like to continue? Understanding what I am saying? Again, I am saying yes. Can I divide, can I take the first number as 0? 0 and second number something. Is this correct? Any division by 0 error? No, right? N. Completed that program, right? So, are you understanding what we are doing with this code? Everyone. What is exception handling? What is meant by exception handling? What is exception? So it was it was interrupting our program, right? Or it was affecting our control flow, right? But we have handled. We have given the code for handling it. What are the code we have given for handling it? Try and catch. What is the use of try block and what is the use of catch block? The code might get exception, that we will keep in try. So we are giving a trial for that, trial run. We know trial run, right? That sometimes that will make some problems or defects, or it will work. So we are making a trial run there. Then if there is any defect or if there is any problem, that problem we will handle using catch block. So here we used just a message. Instead of the code get terminated, we are using one message, so that message will print, then we will continue again. Based on the requirement, we can write anything in that catch block. Based on the requirement, we can do anything. Understanding what I am saying? So let us consider we have a login page. We are going to validate the password. Can we use this thing? Exception there. Can we use exception there? If I am not giving much password which is up to some certain rule, like password must contain at least 8 characters, 8 digits or anything, 8. Then at least minimum 1 special character, 1 number, 1 uppercase. Getting my point? These things should be satisfied, and it should not contain space. So we are giving some conditions for password. Right now all the login pages are following this, right? So if that is the case, then can we use exception there? If our password is not matching, we can handle that, we can raise that as an exception. We will discuss that later, but I'm just giving you that idea right now. Getting my point? Or if something is happening, like some exceptions are performing, our code is getting terminated, at that time we can handle that exception, right? Using try catch, we can handle that exception, and we can again resume from the next line. So it is not getting terminated at this point. Instead of getting terminated, it is just handling it and continuing. Correct? Are you understanding what is try catch block? Yes or no? Can you implement this program? Do it fast. So any doubt in this? Any doubt in this program? Is that working? Okay, then can I create different try blocks, multiple try blocks? Search, can we create multiple try blocks? I'm just taking one copy of this try. Can I keep like this? Can I keep like this? Multiple try blocks, then one catch. Is it possible? I'm saying multiple try blocks. Is it possible? Not nested try block. Multiple try blocks. Can I create in this way? Is there any problem? What is the error? Try block can exist along with catch, or one another block is also there, that is called so we have one another block also finally that we will discuss. So try block can only exist along with catch block, one another catch block, or finally. So you can see the error here. Can you see the error? I have given try, but I have not mentioned catch or finally block for that particular try. Again I given another try. It is like if else. We know else part cannot perform without an if. Correct, else part. Here it is try. Try cannot perform without catch or finally. Getting my point? Because both are like for handling the exception, both we have to use together, right? Try then handling. So that is why we cannot use try block without catch, or one another block is also there, that is called finally. So if I am giving catch block here, and then it will work. Now any error? So multiple try block is not possible. Multiple try catch block is possible, right? Here you can see try catch block 2 times. That is possible, but multiple try block is not possible. Correct. And also we will discuss one thing. Can I execute multiple exceptions in one try catch block? Multiple exceptions. Like what we can take as an example of another type of exception. So I'm just changing this program. I already uploaded this in our file. So let me create a program. Any problem in this code? Any problem in this code? How many exceptions are there? Which line is exception? Which line will get exception? 12. Why? Why? Arithmetic exception. Division by 0 is not possible. Okay, fine. Is there any error in this line? Not error, exception. Why? Size is 1, I am accessing 1. What is the problem here? If size is 1, how many elements will be there? 1. What will be the index? 0. I am accessing 1. What will I get? Array index out of bound exception. 2 exceptions are there, right? Let us check what will happen when, like, I am only handling 1 exception. So let's check whether try catch block can handle multiple exceptions or not. What we are getting? Is it handling that second exception? Okay, how we can say no? So we will do one thing. We will change the order. Is it handling the exception right now? We will check. What is happening? Why it is not handling this exception? So what is the working flow of working of try catch block? If a code is getting exception, like we already did one program, right? In that program, in this program, you can see result. If exception is occurring in this line, it will not, this will not perform any code in this after that line, right? If an exception is occurring in this line, it will directly go to catch block. It was not printing the result. Correct? We did one program, right? In your program, you can check that. If an exception occurs here, it will not execute this statement. It will directly go to catch. So how many exceptions can be handled by try catch block? Try catch block. One try catch block can handle one exception. If one exception occurs, it will check where is the catch block. It can handle this exception. If there is no exception, that exception cannot be handled. It will terminate the code. So, okay, I have 2 exceptions. I cannot keep 2 exceptions actually in a try catch block. Like 2 exceptions I cannot keep. So I can do one thing. I can take 1 exception in one try catch. And what is the exception class here? Array index out of bound. So what will I get right now? Is both the exceptions handling right now? So what we did? For one exception we created one try catch. So this is multiple try catch block. One exception can be handled by one try catch. So if I have multiple exception codes, that I have to keep in separate try catch block, and I can handle it in different forms, in different ways. Okay, if in my requirement actually I like if in my requirement actually I have two codes. If one code is getting exception, I don't have to perform the second code, or if first code is not getting exception, then I have to perform second code. Like different scenarios we can expect, right, in our program. So for both these cases I have to write, like I have to handle it. How can I write that here? Like if one code is getting exception, I don't have to go for the second one, I can directly handle the first one. If first one is not getting exception, second one I will check for exception, and if there is exception I will handle it. Both I have to handle, not at the same time both cannot be handled. One at one time only one thing will be handled. So how can I write here? Only I am handling arithmetic exception, right? How can I add another exception case also? We can add catch, one more catch, multiple catch. What is the exception name here? Array index out of bound. Multiple catches we can add, but the problem is both will not execute at the same time. If first code is getting exception, it will not execute the second one. Even if it is handling or not handling, it will not execute the second code in the try block. Understanding? So if you have to perform the code separately, you can keep it in separate try catch, multiple try catch blocks. One try catch block will keep one line, like handle one line. Another try catch block will handle another exception. Are you understanding what I am saying? So here we can create multiple catch blocks. So for the same exception, okay, let's say what will I get right now? How many exceptions are there in this line? How many exceptions are there in this line? How many exceptions are there in this line? Louder. 1 or 2? Why 1? Come on, be confident and give the answer. How many exceptions are there? 1. What is that exception? Division by 0. This element is already there, right? So only one exception it will handle by this catch. Correct? Consider I have this code. How many exceptions are there in this one line? Which exception will perform? Do you have any idea? So array index out of bound is there, right? Let's check. What is happening? It is handling indexing out of range, but it is not performing 10 divided by 0. Getting what I am saying? Only one exception is handling, that other one is not handling, because okay, anyway there is no data, right, to perform this operation. There is no data, right? Indexing is out of range. There is no data. With which data I will I will perform this division? No idea. There is no data. So it is performing array index out of bound exception. We have one more exception class, right? One main exception class is there, right? Exception. One more catch I added. Think I don't have this array index out of bound exception handling. I don't have this. What will happen right now? Any idea? We have not given array index out of bound exception. Which exception will throw here? Which exception will perform here? Array index out of bound. That one is not there with me. Right now what will happen in your program? Will it get handled? Will it handle this exception? What we are getting? Why? We already discussed exception is what? Exception class is what? It is a super class for all the exceptions, right? Like whatever exceptions are there in Java, for all the exceptions, this exception class is the super class. So by exception class I can handle anything. Any exception can be handled by exception class. Any doubt in this? So can I keep this item above? What is the error? What is the error? I given exception handling here. Here arithmetic exception handling, and here array index out of bound. So once exception is occurs, it will check the first catch. Like will it handle by this first catch? Yes, then it will not go to the next one. Correct. So exception, if I am giving first itself, there is no use of going and checking another catches, because exception can handle in everything. Understanding what I am saying? Exception can handle anything. So there is no need of using this another catches. But why we are not using exception? Exception will take anything, right? So if I have to separately perform some operation on array index out of bound or arithmetic exception, these are not the only two exceptions. We have lot of other exceptions. If any exceptions are there, if I have to perform that separately, then I cannot use that with the exception class. I cannot identify which exception is occurring, right? Every exception can be handled by exception. Getting my point? These points you have to note down. Whatever things I am discussing right now is important. Any doubt in this? Then we will discuss about finally. What is finally block? Really? Listen here. So what is your expectation? Arithmetic exception? Sure. Why? What is this? So do I have a catch block which will handle this exception? Then what will happen? It will terminate the code, right? Correct. Where it will get terminated? Okay, here program starts. I will give one more message. Program starts. program ends. Program execution is ending with the main method only, right? That also we discussed yesterday. So I given some comments like this. So what is your expectation now? What are the things we will get in output? In an order, tell me the order. Program starts. Full, everything will print, right? Okay. What we are getting right now? We don't have a catch which will handle exception. We don't have a catch which will handle this exception. If there is no catch, it will terminate the code, right? It will not print all the things. It will terminate the code. When it is getting terminated, before terminating, we can see one thing. So even if one code is getting exception, or like one code is getting terminated or handling the exception, for both the cases, finally block will execute. Finally block will work for all the cases. How many cases are there? 2 cases. Code might get exception and it can terminate. So for all the cases, finally block will execute. Finally block is something which will execute even the code is getting terminated. Before termination, finally block will execute, complete its execution. Understanding what I am saying? Understanding what I am saying? What is finally block? It will perform even the code is getting terminated. For both the cases, even the code is getting handled or terminated. For both the cases, finally block will execute. So instead of this arithmetic exception, I am giving array index out of bound. Right now, what is the output? What output you are expecting? Program starts. Program starts. Array index out of bound. Okay. So are you understanding? Because we are handling the exception right now. We are handling the exception right now. So program starts is coming first. Then array index out of bound exception is handling, right? Then finally block is coming and program ends. If this exception is not getting handled, then we will get only program starts and finally block. So whatever we are giving in finally block will execute even if the code is getting terminated. For all the cases, that block will execute. Any doubt? Any doubt? Is it clear? So what is the use of try block? What is the use of catch block? What is the use of finally block? What is the use of catch block? What is the use of try block? What is the use of finally block? Give me all the answers. For what we are using try block? To try the exception code. Then catch is using for what? To handle the exception. Finally is for what? For all the cases, whatever the case it may be, like it might be code can be get interrupted or code exception can be handled. For all the cases, finally block will execute. So we can keep that like whatever code we have to do for all the purpose we can give there. That we can see before getting that exception code. Before code is getting terminated. Any doubt? Yes or no? So note down these 3 items and the variance. Like I cannot make multiple multiple tries. I can make multiple try catch combination. Correct. And multiple catch I can make. Multiple catch blocks I can make. Correct. If I am giving exception first, then I cannot make another catch. Like after that I cannot make another catch because exception will handle everything. Correct. Then what is finally? It will execute even if the code is getting terminated. Before that it will execute. Any doubt in whatever we discussed today from the beginning? No, right? Then one more thing is there. Nested try catch block. So let's say here it is same as 0. We have that other code which is ARR of 1. How many exception codes are there? How many exception codes are there? 2 exception codes are there, right? So I have to take this out of this try block. I can make it as a new try catch variant. Like that also we discussed, right? We can make this as new try catch block variant. Here I can give the code. This is one way because one try catch block will handle one exception. Otherwise I can also do one thing. Now what will happen? Now what will happen? Are you understanding what I have changed? So predict the output, what will happen right now? What will happen right now? Here I will give arithmetic, division by 0. So what are the things you are expecting from this code? Program starts will come, okay. Then, so it will enter, like we will create an array, it will enter into the first try. In that again we can see try block. There we are finding one code. Will it make exception? Yes, we are pointing to the index value which is not in the range. So we will handle that exception, correct. Here we have that exception class, so it will handle the exception by this catch block. We will print this. Then we will come out of the try catch block. Then again we are finding another one, exception code. This will also, it will check for the particular exception class. It is there in catch, this catch. Thus this will also will execute, right? Then finally block, program ends. Any doubt? So multiple try catch block is also low. Nested try catch block is also possible, right? How many things we are getting right now? Is this the what we have discussed just now, right? Program starts, array index, division, finally program ends. Correct? Any doubt? Yes or no? Any doubt in this? So nested try catch block is also possible. Correct. I have added this also in that text. Any doubt? Any doubt in this? So whatever points we discussed, you have to go through that points. It is important. Okay, then in exception, very next concept is we can create our own exception. We can create our own exception. Can we create our own class? Can we create our own method? In that way, we can create our own exception. We can set some rules. If that rule is not matching, then exception will occur. Getting my point? Thread class we created, right? We can create thread. How we are creating thread class? How we created thread class in Java? Thread class I am saying, thread class. Thread class. Class. Okay, I am taking demo. Extends. Threads, right? So if I have to make exception, our own exception class, I have to extend exception. Getting my point? Whatever class is extends exception is a thread exception class. Same concept of thread, right? Whatever class is extending thread, it is a thread class. Here demo is extending exception. So demo also can be act as an exception class. Simple logic, right? So here I have created a exception, user defined exception. Then okay, so I have created user defined exception. Can I create an object here? Can I create an object here? How can I create object of demo? Demo d equal to new demo. Can I run this code? Anything is there? No, nothing is there in output, right? If I am printing also, can I expect something? What is this? What is this? This is our package name and class name. Correct? Okay. We have a keyword called throw. Throw D. What will happen right now? Any idea? So after creating the user defined exception, I can initiate that, or I can initiate that exception. I can create that exception. By creating, I am creating an object. Then whenever I am finding this exception to be thrown, I will use throw keyword. So what is the error right now? What is the error right now? Unhandled exception type demo. So exception is occurred. Here in this line, exception is occurred, and this exception is not runtime. This is compile time. So whatever exception we are creating, user defined exception will be compile time exceptions. We have not discussed about compile time exception, right? We have only checked runtime exceptions. Okay, we will focus on compile time exception also. Okay, what is one? Can you take one example of compile time exception? Any one example? Check, is there any, like, how many compile time examples are there? Compile time exceptions are there? We will try to focus on one. we have exception is there, IO exception is there. IO means that is related to file handling. Then null okay, class not found exception is there. Okay, how can I check for, okay, let me check. What is happening right now? This is one compile time exception. What is happening right now? What is happening? What is the error here? I am using class name. What happened? What happened with this class? Exception thread main. What is that? Why class cannot be resolved? It is not there in the same package, right? So how can I compile time exception? I already said you can see the exception like that notation you can see in the code itself. In the compile time before we run the program itself, we can see the error. So whatever exception that we are creating as our user defined exception is also compile time exception. While compiling itself, we can see that exception. So how, anyway, compile time exception or runtime exception, how we can resolve that exception? By, so again I am creating same demo class. Throw is a keyword which we have learned. What is the use of throw? It will throw the exception. This code is making exception, right? So how can I handle that? Try. Then catch. What is the exception type? What is the exception type? Demo is the exception type. I will, okay, demo exception is already using. Fine, demo. Correct? Is it working now? I have given demo here. Why demo is taking here? Because it is an exception. Understanding what I am saying? Demo extends exception. So demo is right now acting as exception class. So I can handle exception by this, I can use that in catch block to handle that exception. Handling. What will I get right? What will I get right now? Demo exception is handling. So what we have did actually? What is this? One class I created, and that class is inheriting exception. So this will become exception class. After creating the object, if I am using throw D, that means what? We are initiating that exception. So in this line, the code will become exception. What is the exception case? Demo. Demo is the exception. Getting my point? And when it is when that exception is starting, when throw keyword is using. So we have kept that inside try catch block. So try catch block is right now handling this exception. So if I am creating a user defined exception, after creating the object, okay, let's say I'm not creating the object, I don't have D, can I use new demo here? Can I use new demo here? What is this code? Okay, I am not using try. What is the error? Try is not there. What is the error here? This is also same only, right? Previously I was using that reference. Here I am directly pointing to the object. Correct. So throw keyword is using for initiating that exception. So on that particular line it will throw the exception. So I can use this for, okay, let me say like I am checking for validation, password validation. So I can check, I can create here validation exception. Like I can give the name as validation exception. And whenever my password is not matching, I will throw this exception. So if exception is already there means what? Exception is thrown means what? I have to handle it. Again I have to take the data from user with all the given specification. Then only it will accept. Otherwise it will again throw exception. We will get that red message, right? In that login page. Your password is not up to the specification. You have to again re-enter. So in that way it can perform. So we can create our own exceptions in our project. That is just an example I am saying. In that way, whenever I require to create one exception, whenever I require to point out one exception or one case, exception case, I can throw exception. So throw keyword is using for what? Throwing that exception. So it will throw the exception on that line. I have to write the code for handling it. So I can handle like whatever case is there, based on that I can handle the exception right here. So are you understanding what is exception, user defined exception? How it will become, how we can make a user defined exception? How we can make a user defined exception? How we can make a user defined thread? Same way only, right? Correct. In thread what we did? We created object, thread is created, but thread is alive at what point? When we are using dot start. Here we are using what? Throw demo, or demo object. So it throws the exception. Throw keyword is using for throwing the exception, throwing the user defined exception. Okay, let us check whether can we give any predefined exception case here. So I will take this outside. What is happening right now? Is there any problem? Because arithmetic exception is runtime exception or compile time exception? Runtime, right? Let's run the program. Are you getting exception? What is the exception? Is there any specific name for that exception? Because it is just throw the exception. At any point, I can throw my own exception. If it is a user defined exception, this will be considering as compile time exception. This is runtime exception. That also I can use with the throw. So here I can write a code for handling that exception, that particular exception. See here, what is the error? What is the error? Unreachable catch block. Why it is unreachable? This exception is not getting handled. Can I write one more catch block exception? Then why still it is error? Is there any use for this catch block here? Is there any use? No, right? And also it is a compile time exception class. Correct? So let us remove that. Will it handle now? So can I give a name for my compile time exception? Can I give a name like arithmetic exception how division by 0 name? In that way, can I give some names? Yes, this is my user defined class. I have to give one name to that exception. How can I take the name? So user defined exception means I can decide the name, right? So how we can do that? From, okay, let's say demo d equal to new demo. I will pass my exception. So what is the error? How can I resolve? Throw D. What is the error? I have to get this data while performing this exception. How can I get that? Come on, think. What is the error here? Constructor, correct. How can I resolve that error? I created constructor because we are passing something, right? It should come here. So I created that. Then what I can do here? Then what can I do? Super, okay, super of string. What is happening right now? What is super? What is super? Louder. Exception is the super class, right? So it is pointing to exception. In exception, do we have constructor? That is what we are accessing, right? Super, then message we are passing. Okay, let us check after super control space. How many things are there? Super default constructor is there. Super parameterized constructor is there. Then again another parameterized constructor with a different class. Here both combinations are there. Can you see all the super items that I can access using super keyword? So here I will select string. Okay, let's run the program now. What will I get? Here, can you see the name? No. What happened? Throw D I am using. Okay, how can I handle this? So we will enclose this in try catch block. Exception, no. I have to use demo. Then what will I print? E. E I am printing. Understand what I did here? I'm throwing the exception. I kept that in try block. Then I'm handling. While handling, I'm printing that exception. So what will I get right now? Last time what we get? Exception, package and the class. Right now what we are getting? Along with that we are getting the name of the exception also. This is the same thing we got while we are printing arithmetic exception. Division by 0 is the name. Correct. That name was also coming. So in this way I can give the name to my exception. I can create an user defined exceptions and I can give name. Any doubt? Understanding what is user defined exception? Yes or no? Yes or no? Any doubt in this? You have to point out all the points that I have discussed already. Note down all the points, which it will be really helpful. So user defined exception also we can create. User defined thread we created, right? In the same way. There is no much difference in that. That is why I am relating that concept here. Only the difference is what? To initiate the thread, we have to use thread object dot start. Here we are using throw object. Throw object will throw the exception. So throw keyword is using for what? Initiating or throwing the exception. So it will throw in that line, the exception will occur. That particular line, it will be exception. Exception case will be demo. Demo will be the exception. Any doubt? Last thing you have to understand in exception handling is one more keyword is there. Do you have any idea what is that keyword? We have throw keyword and throws keyword. What if I am not handling this exception here? If I am not handling the exception here, I don't have to write a code for handling that exception. So what can I do? I can use in that particular, like this exception is in which method? Main method, right? In that like throws keyword is actually using for mentioning that in this method we have a exception code. Understanding? Throws keyword is using for mentioning that in mentioning, it is just giving one notation to the particular method which contains exception. So here we will, for this is the method which contains the exception code. Correct. Here we will represent throws. What exception is throwing in this method? What exception is throwing in this method actually? Demo, right? Demo. Throws demo. Getting my point? Now can you see any error here? What will happen if I am running this code? Will it handle the exception? Will it handle the exception? Will it handle the exception? No, see, exception handling demo, my exception is the name which throws in main method. Main method throws demo exception. That means what? Main method contains a code which is throwing demo exception. So it is just a notation which is mentioned which mentions that this method throw an exception. Getting my point? Throws and throw keyword. Throw keyword is using for throwing the exception. Throws keyword is using for pointing that method where the exception is already thrown. Understanding? What is the use of throw keyword? Throwing an exception. What is the use of throws keyword? It is pointing out that the method, that particular method throws the exception. Understanding what I am saying? It is pointing out that particular method throws the exception. So let's say this code I am creating. This code I am creating in another method. So I don't have to use this right now. I have another method. Public static void exception or method So I have created the object inside a method. Listen here, I have created the object inside a method. What is the error here? unhandled exception type demo. What I have to do? Because this method throws an exception, demo is the exception, that I have to denote here or mention here. Otherwise, I have to handle it. Two options. By mentioning here, it is not handling the exception. Correct. Exception handling will done only in one way, try catch block. Getting my point? But it like this exception is actually, what is that exception? Compile time exception. So I don't have to show that exception while like in this IDE. Even if it is compile time exception, I don't have to show the error here. So I can just denote using this. So it will not show the exception as compile time exception. We can get the exception at the time of execution. So here I am calling method, then only it will perform, right? I have from main method I have to call method. So I am calling that method. What is the problem here right now? Method. What is the problem? Method is already contains one code which throws exception. So that I have to, this method is also calling the same thing, right? How can I resolve this? Here I can use try catch block, one method. In this way only, this is the only one method where I can handle the exception. If I don't have to handle the exception, then I can add throws. So it will not show in compile time. It will only show in runtime. So are you understanding what is throw and throws keyword? Yes or no? Understanding what is throw and throws keyword? Is there any doubt in whatever concepts we learned today in exception handling? Check and let me know. Make it fast.